Hi, the reason I'm making this video is to look at one verse in the Bible. I only have 10 minutes to get a video up, and it takes a long time to look at these verses. So my challenge, my target audience in this is straight Christians. My challenge to you is, are you so sure that you know what the verse Romans 1:26 says? Are you so positive that you are assured that you know what it means, that it then validates your usage of this verse to the GLBT, gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual community, especially the Christian community, to say, no, you can't be gay and Christian because of what I read. What I read in my book says God has turned you over to your sexual desires, and when women are with women, that is a repulse to God, and He's condemned you, so therefore I have to tell you about it. So let's look at it. Let's look to see if what that means. Believe me, I am well aware that verses 27 and 28 are right on the tail end of this, and I'll have to do another video of that. But what are we looking at? So Paul is sitting in Corinth. It's probably between 54 and 58 AD. He's writing into the church, into Rome. A woman is going to carry that letter for him because he's not even going to get to Rome for another 5 years. So what's going on in Rome? Bad time. Bad time to be a human with a heart in Rome, right between the times of Caligula and Nero. I mean, I've seen the movies. Pretty dreadful behavior. So what's happening is you've got the Jews. It's a city of about 1 million people at the time. You've got Jews, you've got Christian Jews, and you've got Gentile Christians. So in amongst all these Romans. So the Jews and the Christian Jews were fighting, as they always did. What should we eat? Should we be circumcised? What are the rules we're supposed to keep? What do we not have to keep anymore? Fighting. Well, the Caesar of Rome finally said, done with you. You fight too much. Signed an edict of 49, kicked them out of town, told them to leave. I'm sure some stayed behind, but for the most part, all of these Jews and these Christian Jews have now left town, which leaves the new Gentile converts. 25 years after the death of Jesus, these new Gentile converts are trying to live out their newfound Christianity. Mentors are gone. So would it be understandable that they had made some kind of confession of Jesus, some kind of decision to follow him, but their legacy, their history, their culture, their families are all into and have been into this idol worship for years? There's one thing God hates idolatry. He says it over and over again. Don't put another God before me. That's the number one rule. It's the number one command. When Jesus says, keep these two rules. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Keeps repeating it. God hates idolatry. This is what this is about. These people had fallen back into their idolatry. They were supposed to understand. You want something, blessings in your life, you have needs, you have things you want, you're to come to God and ask Him. But their history, their tradition told them to go to the temples, to sacrifice within the temples, to do all kinds of acts within the temples to get what they wanted from their God, small g. So here they are. They're going back into the temples. And sexual intercourse for favors by the gods is pretty common. Men would dress up as goddesses. There were women temple prostitutes, and you would go and you would have sex with these temple prostitutes to gain favor with the gods. You want more crops, you go have sex with the goddess of fertility. You know, that was just common. So this is what these people were used to. They had fallen back into their idol worship. So this is what Paul is addressing. You know, you people once made a commitment for Jesus, but now you've turned back to idolatry, and you've turned back to your shameful lusts. Shameful sounds like a pretty bad word. Atimai, A-T-I-M-A-I. What does that word mean? It means shameful, disgusting, dishonorable, disgraceful. So is that a word that can condemn you to hell? What does that word mean? Well, it was used to talk about the length of a man's hair, and when a man's hair was long, that was the same word, atimai, shameful. And which, you know, side note, why do we always see pictures of Jesus with long hair? That would not have been approved of. I mean, he was a Nazarene, he wasn't a Nazarite. Nazarites had long hairs, but I digress. So back to it, shameful. So the shameful lust. So shameful is dishonorable, disgraceful. But we see this next verse that says, even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. Does that say that this is what I have been told, that their women were having sex with women? But is that what it says? It doesn't say that. It says that the women were doing something unnatural with their bodies. They were doing something sexual that was unnatural with their bodies. Now, within the Hebrew culture, regular coitus intercourse would have been the acceptable thing. What would have been unacceptable and unnatural to a Jew would have been anal sex. I mean, I'm figuring we're over 21 if we're listening to this, so that would have been an unnatural use. That could have been something that this meant was an unnatural use of their bodies. But I can tell you this, it does not say women were having sex with women. So it does not say that. And that was what I thought it had always said. It does not say that. So what about this word unnatural? Is this a horrible thing? Is this a thing that if you do it, you're condemned to hell forever? Well, unnatural is paraphusis. P-A-R-A, new word, P-H-U-S-I-S. It means on the edges of acceptable behavior, outside of the realm of what is culturally acceptable, what you don't expect. So it's saying that it's outside of what their brains see as normal. So is that condemnable to hell? Or you must get away from God if you do this paraphusis thing? Well, in Romans 11:24, God himself is said to do a paraphusis. When he grafted the Gentiles into the Jews, that was the same word, paraphusis. He did something unnatural, something that people didn't expect him to do. And we certainly know that God can't sin, and he did this paraphusis thing when he, after 1900 years of the Jews believing that the Messiah was only for them and this was only for them, God did this crazy thing and engrafted all these dogs, these Gentiles, and that certainly wasn't something that the Jews saw as normal and acceptable. But God decided to do it. He did this paraphusis, so I can tell you that I am not convinced that this verse says that women having sex with women is something that will condemn them away from the presence of God. I don't see that it says that. And some of you may say I'm extending too much grace, but what is too much grace? We're all going to stand. Believers are going to stand before Jesus, and he's going to say to me, is he going to say to me, Kathy, when you go to San Francisco Pride and you stand with that guy in leather, in his S&M leather, and you tell him God loves him, and you tell him that God accepts who he is as a person, and that maybe he should come back into church and just to try to reestablish that relationship with God. Do you think God, when I get to the throne, he's going to say to me, Kathy, why'd you do that? I could have handled the homeless and I could have handled the drunks, but my goodness, Kathy, you brought me gay and lesbian people. I could not handle them. I don't think that I'm going to hear that from him. So what is it? Why are we so fearful to let the skinny little boy in his pink shorts come into our church that's been clubbing the night before because his sin is so obvious of clubbing? Let him come into the church too. He has a place in the arms and the love and the grace of God. I think it's our fear. It's our fear. And, what about perfect love? Please consider and watch another video I'll make about what maybe these verses are not saying. When you look at this, it is not saying to me that this is this horrible thing that God just turns them over and women are having sex with women. It's not saying that. Would you consider that possibly? Thank you.